Namaste and greetings. You are all welcome to be my guest. Show today is Be My Guest, and with me is Sri M.K. Angajan, who hails from Pune, India. He sacrificed his promising engineering career and spent 11 years of his prime time of youth in an ashram in India researching on Vedanta philosophy and Hindu scriptures and its practical applications on day-to-day living. Over a decade, Angajan has been traveling internationally to share his experiences delivering discourses on Vedanta philosophy. He is a prolific and accomplished speaker on Vedanta, a management guru, life coach and author. Angajan's books entitled Value System for Success and From Gods to Godhead. A number of CDs and DVDs received world recognition. Angajan regularly addresses gatherings across 5 continents. His scientific rationale, practical approach and passionate presentations grounded by wisdom, expertise and humor have earned him the patronage of many reputed corporations and business schools internationally. They include, among others, IBM, BP, PwC, Toyota, Emirates, VW, Tata Group of Companies, Reserve Bank of India, Indian Institute of Management, Fujitsu, Siemens. Today's topic is understanding and managing anger. Before we start, I welcome Mr. Angajan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Namaskar.
And yes, a very interesting topic, anger. Anger is a universal phenomenon, young or old, newborn to the oldest, birds to beast, all go through this deadly reaction. There are different shades of anger. Probably 50 shades, from irritation to frustration to an outburst of rage. In human, it is an emotion that paralyzes thinking, suppresses creativity, cripples relationships, damages health, destroys family, a major impediment in our peace, happiness and contentment. Understanding and managing anger is an essential part of managing your personality and life that can increase a great deal of happiness and success. The common question, what is anger?
Anger obviously is an emotion, a strong emotion arising from a root. The root cause of anger is human desire. When you have a desire, desire creates expectations, all right? So, when your desire is obstructed or interrupted by an external agency, the desire gets modified into anger. So what is anger? It is a modification of our desire. It is an emotion arising out of the root of the desire, an emotion arising out of the desire. So, to be able to control anger, we got to first of all identify desire and see what we can do about it. Like you mentioned earlier, it's a universal emotion. Almost every being goes through that. And one of the strongest emotions you find is displaying all over.
So, what causes anger?
The interruption of the desire. When the desire is obstructed, for example, you have an expectation that people on the road need to drive patiently, they need to drive with discipline. So, when the other person does not drive the way you expect, what happens? Your desire is interrupted or your expectation get interrupted, isn't it?
Yes.
So, expectation or desire interrupted causes anger. So, that's the root cause of anger.
And your immediate reaction is somebody else shows you anger, you want to react with anger as well, which I think I always say, why do you raise your blood pressure unnecessarily?
Correct.
Let that person show the anger and just move on in the way of the road rage. If that's what we're trying to.
True.
What is the dynamics of anger?
The as you mentioned earlier, when somebody is rude, nasty or angry towards us, our natural tendency is to reciprocate with anger, with thinking that you can suppress the other person's anger by reciprocating the anger, but it never happens. Usually what happens is, there's another reason for anger is when your ego is obstructed, when your ego is hurt. Either your desire is obstructed or when your ego is hurt, both causes anger. All right. So, if the other person's ego is hurt, all right, and you respond, you reciprocate with anger, what happens is the other person's anger only multiplies. Usually what happens is when somebody is nasty to us, we get irritated, we get angry. When you show anger, other person's ego goes higher. His ego goes higher, he gets angry. When his ego goes higher, your ego doesn't keep quiet, it goes further. When your ego goes further, other person's ego goes even more higher, ultimately there is a clash.
So, I guess that's the different types.
Yeah. So, therefore, what do we do? If you need to control or manage the other person's anger, we need to control our own anger.
Oh, yes.
That's why Bible said, a soft answer turneth away wrath. When you are calm and composed, straight away 90% of the other person's anger comes down. And when the other person's anger comes down, he or she has a better clarity to understand you. So,
and the person got angry in the beginning, will this either get more angry, why is this person not, is so calm?
True, true.
On the other hand, is, oh, really, I did not, it's not worth it.
True.
That's
Exactly.
how, yeah. So, you spoke about shades of anger. Recently, there's a lot of things on shades,
Yeah, there is a different range or shades of anger from a mild irritation. One gets irritated, and if the irritation continues, irritation leads to frustration. All right. Over a period of irritation, it builds a frustration, and frustration eventually explodes into an outburst of temper. You find them frothing and fuming and screaming and shouting, etc. And the danger is that when you are angry, nothing happened to the other person. The damage is caused by the person who is carrying anger. Like Lord Buddha said, when you are getting angry, is like carrying live coal in your hand, burning coal in your hand, with an expectation to throw it at somebody. But very often what happens is the person who is carrying the coal is what gets burnt. Similarly with anger, when we are carrying anger, it's like acid. It consumes our soul, consumes our system. It creates a lot of mental agitation, and not only that, when we are angry, it creates a lot of biological problems, physiological problems,
health problems.
Health
right.
problems, yeah. When you entertain anger, hatred, and many other there are many cousins of anger.
These are all negative emotions.
Negative emotions.
And negative emotions bring illness in my mind.
Exactly. Psychosomatic diseases, what they call as emotionally induced diseases. So, usually anger does not come only on its own. Anger is associated with hatred, jealousy, envy, fear, so on and so forth.
Right.
So, these are all the associates or friends of anger. So, wherever there is anger, you will find their friends also, and vice versa. Okay. So, those are the shades and ranges of anger that we are talking about. So, the ultimate solution is that we got to develop control of our emotion, because if we do not take control of our emotion, we become a victim of emotionally induced diseases or psychosomatic diseases, like right from blood pressure, sugar, constipation, indigestion, backache, stomachache, arthritis, you name it, all kinds of complications. And when we go to a physician or a doctor with these kind of illness, very often they do not have a lasting cure for it, with due respect to them. They will give us pills and syrup, we are okay for a few days, after a few days you are back to square one. Why? Because these biological or physiological problems are induced by the negative malfunctions. So, when we put the thinking right, when we put our emotional state right, you find we get relief from a lot of these. Time and time again I come across people with a lot of illness, and they go to a doctor, they go through all kind of tests, they can't find anything, and they refuse to identify that the problem is not at the physical level. So they got to focus upon the subtle level.
So sometimes it's not just anger, it's it's other things that manifest anything negative, I think.
Negative, yeah.
Negative.
A lot of negativities.
Yes, a lot of negative.
Which
sure.
includes hatred, envy, fear, whole lot of them.
Right,
All
like
those
you
kind
said, it was not, you said earlier on, anger is just not anger, it's a whole lot of different
the
things.
whole lot of cousins of it.
Right, yeah.
And one of the most dangerous thing about anger is that it is contagious nature, or any emotion for that matter.
Yes, you smile and the whole world smiles back at you, right?
Correct. And that is true, okay, that is positive. But when it comes to negative emotion,
The same thing
the
happens.
impact is much more.
Oh, yes.
It's multiple. It's the dangerous proportion. For example, a person comes to work. On the road, he gets angry. He got road rage, as we call it, and is so stressed, so upset. When he comes to work with a whole lot of negative emotion, he doesn't realize that how he's infecting the colleagues at work with those negative emotions.
So that's the impact of relationships.
Yes. And vice versa, in the evening when people come home from work, stressed, agitated, highly strung, they come home with these negative emotions, they infect their family members with those negative emotions. So emotions are highly contagious. I would like to call them ETD, emotionally transmitted diseases.
Okay, ETD, okay.
That's more dangerous than STD.
So, let's go, instead of being on the negative side, let's get to the positive side of this whole thing and just say, let's let most of our show telling people how to manage, how do you manage and control anger? Right. I think that may be a more positive thing from this, if people can take something from this show. So if you can.
Yeah. We were diagnosing to understand the negative effect, and then, as you said, managing. See, anger by itself is not negative.
Right.
Anger is a device.
That's what you were saying earlier on. You said it's about a tool.
It's a tool. It is a tool. It is a device that we are bestowed upon. We're bestowed with this, and we got to learn to use it.
Right.
All right. And if you don't learn how to use it, the tool becomes damaging. We need to know how to wield it.
Right.
So the scriptures, the shastras, the spiritual literatures,
right,
gives us those tools as to how to wield this emotion called anger and any other emotion.
Right. So you actually use the word shastra. That's the Hindu scriptures that you were talking
right.
about.
I mean, yeah.
But I mean, it's there in almost
Hindu scriptures. Yeah.
Right. But it's there in almost
every faith. Every faith talks about it.
Yes.
So when we see anger has to be measured. The right quantity of anger at the right time, at the right circumstances, and to the right person, anger works miracle. Now this is what I would call using anger. When we do not train ourselves to use anger, what happens is we lose our temper. So we say, don't lose your temper, but use your anger. Now, as a mother, I'm sure you must have used this, with your children sometime or the other. Every parents do that, isn't it? When we get angry at children, why do we get angry? Where does that anger come from? Out of sheer affection, isn't it?
Out of sheer affection, but something they did wrong, obviously, that
yes,
you didn't
exactly.
like. I mean, not be wrong, but it's something you didn't.
Something that is detrimental to the child, So
yes.
you display anger, but although you're displaying anger, it is springing from the foundation is love and affection, isn't it?
Yes.
So when we use anger on the foundation of love and respect, all right, that is what I would call use anger.
Right.
So where we don't cross the line. So we measure, we calibrate how much to deliver. If you offload too much of anger, it becomes detrimental.
Right.
Too little becomes ineffective. It's like medicine. Medicine. The moment you talk about medicine, the first thing that comes in our mind is what's the dosage, how much. Overdosage, medicine become poison.
That's true.
Underdosage, medicine become ineffective.
That's true.
Similarly, anger. We need to know how much to deliver. If you are able to deliver it properly, now this is what the modern management gurus calls emotional intelligence. We got to be intelligent with our emotions.
That's true.
Otherwise, anger kills us.
Yeah, so how do they control that?
As I mentioned earlier, we are empowered with three equipments:
Right.
the mind, intellect, and the ego. In the Indian language, in Sanskrit, Sanskrit is the classical language of Asia. What is Greek and Latin to Europe, Sanskrit is to Asia. In Sanskrit, it's called manas, buddhi, and ahankara.
Right.
All right. Now, buddhi or the intellect is the thinking faculty. It is the discriminating ability. It is the reasoning faculty.
Right.
All right. So, intellect is a faculty that controls and governs our emotions. Mind is a seat of emotions. Emotion or the anger operates in the mind. All right. Intellect is the faculty that is able to control it. All right. So, to answer your question, how do we control anger? We got to strengthen our intellect. Today, the world does not realize the importance of exercising intellect and strengthening the intellect. So, when a person is losing their temper, what happens is emotions overruling the intellect. So, we need to reverse the process. Intellect must rule the emotion. See, if you look at the biological structure of a human being, you find our head is placed above the heart, isn't it?
Yes.
Whereas in animals, head and the heart is in the same level.
All right.
to suggest that animals cannot control their emotion, they act on emotions. Human beings are empowered with very powerful emotions, especially positive emotion. And we are also empowered with this powerful equipment called the intellect, the head, to be able to control the heart.
Right.
So, one of the prime objective of spiritual study, that is studying the Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, etc., to strengthen the intellect. So, once the intellect is strong enough, intellect is able to control and govern this emotion. So, how do we control the anger? Long-term solution, we got to build a intellect. It's like, see, the emotions are like the water in the river.
Right.
Intellect is like the banks of the river. The banks of the river control and guides the water. Similarly, in our personality, the flow of emotions need to be given direction.
So, is there any technique to improve the intellect from Vedanta point of view? Or
it is. It is a course. It is a progressive study.
Right.
First of all, we need to ask ourselves, how do we start our day?
Right. Very important. Very important.
So, the most benevolent thought process manifests in the early hours of the morning.
Oh, yes.
The holy hour, or it is called the Brahma Muhurtam, between 4 to 6 in the morning. That is the most dynamic time of the day, wherein the mind is very peaceful, our intellect is very clear, very alert. So, that is the time wherein we need to invest our time in study of the scriptures, any motivational scriptures. So, the ideal time for us to wake up is about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 to 6. To be able to wake up at 4 o'clock, we need to sleep early also. Now, even when you wake up, there is a time frame that is very crucial. That is, from the time you wake up to the time you get up.
Oh, right.
All right. That few minutes from the time you are awake to the time you get up from the bed, that few minutes is crucial. The kind of thought process that you entertain at that time, maybe a few minutes, sometimes it can be longer. Some people have a tendency to laze in the bed.
Press the snooze button.
Yeah, press the snooze button, they delay it.
Right.
And in those, that few minutes, or it can be longer as well, what kind of thought that we go through. Ideally, shorter the time, the better it is.
Yeah.
And as soon as you wake up, there are 3 things that we need to do. One is hydration, vaccination, and oxygenation. Our day should ideally begin with that.
Right.
Hydration is when we wake up, the first 1 hour, we need to drink at least 2 to 3 cups of water. The reason being that when we are sleeping, we lose that much water, about 2.5 to 3 cups of water through breathing, through sweating, etc. So, we got to replenish it, hydration, all right. and warm water, lukewarm water, not the ice water, not the cold water, because our body digests, the digestion takes place at 37 degree temperature. So, when you drink cold water, it straight away suppresses the digestion process. And then vaccination. Vaccination is where you read inspirational literatures, literature that inspires. It could be Bible, it could be Quran, it could be Vedas, it could be Bhagavad Gita, whichever that really inspire your soul. Or it could be
not non-denominational too, anything inspirational.
Could be a motivational.
Yeah, motivational thing, yes.
That is the process of vaccination, because when you do that, you're actually making positive affirmations, you know. And then oxygenation.
That's your pranayama.
Pranayama, all right. That is the breathing technique, deep breathing or abdominal breathing. So, if you are able to invest about 20 minutes together with yoga and pranayama, you know, many people argue that they are going to the gym and doing exercises regularly, which of course is fantastic.
And with exercise, you got to breathe a bit faster, so that's a type of pranayama.
Yeah, which of course is good. But the yoga that we do has got much deeper impact, which the exercises in the gym cannot contribute. See, when you exercise in the gym, it takes care of the voluntary activities, the limbs, etc.
Right.
What about the involuntary activities as pranas?
That's
right. So,
breath.
yoga and pranayama takes care of our involuntary activities. There are numerous glands, you know, which are exercise kept fit through yoga and pranayama. So, that is the oxygenation process, you know. So, when we start the day with that every day, 24, you know, 365 days, including weekends, all right, that will give us an emotional control, mastery over our own self.
Okay.
And then we are able to control our hatred, anger, jealousy, the entire panorama of negative emotions. It's not just anger only, you know.
And that's very good advice for sure, that, you know, anytime if you start your day on the right footing, you find that everything goes well, and you've given a very, very good example there. So, anybody looking at you would think, you don't get angry.
I do get angry.
So,
See,
you're telling me you lose your anger and temper, right? And then
you mentioned earlier that anger is a universal phenomenon.
Right.
You know, saints right from the sinners to the saints, they do get angry. But the difference is that, are you using your anger or losing your temper? That makes a world of difference.
Right, and then I guess you gave us ideas of how you control your anger.
Right.
Okay,
you know,
do the same thing.
It's always good to be on the safer side. Never overload the anger. You know, you rather keep lesser quantity. You know, it's true not only with the anger, even affection. You know, emotion. When you talk about emotion, there are good emotions, there are bad emotions. You know, good emotion like love, affection, kindness, compassion, charitable disposition, etc. Negative emotions like anger, jealousy, hatred, etc. All this emotion, when we display it outside, it has to be measured, it has to be calibrated. Anger and affection is true. Right. So, how much quantity of anger that you use, and if you display anger, make sure that the person to whom that you displayed the anger, you got to make sure that the other person does not harbor ill will towards you. So, sometimes the onus is upon you to make sure that the other person understands your intention.
Right.
You know,
right.
if the other person does not
Power
understand your intention, yes.
The power of intention.
The power of intention, yeah. If they don't understand the intention, they will misunderstand.
Right.
Yeah, the relation gets spoiled.
So, how does one respond to an irate customer, hysterical and irritable spouse, or a rude teenager?
Respond with equanimity. The first response to any anger is serenity. Like I mentioned earlier, a soft answer turneth away wrath is a law, it's a gospel. Okay. So, the moment the other person is angry, if you are able to maintain the serenity, straight away the other person's intensity on the anger comes down. You know, to be able to do that, one need to be a person of strong character. It is a weak people who reciprocate with anger. Strong people are able to maintain the equanimity and serenity and be unaffected by that anger. You know, it's a misconception to believe that you know, when the person is calm, they're weak. No, they're strong people who remain calm.
So what would you leave our audience with the last minute that we have? What would you, with regards to anger and controlling your anger? And
yeah, I would call the ace of anger. First of all, you need to acknowledge, all right? Acknowledge that there is anger. A lot of people don't admit that.
True.
You know, there are people who get angry, they don't admit that they're getting angry. And anger, by the way, is very addictive emotion. You know, among the many emotions, anger is the most addictive. When you're addicted to anger, that is what we call short temper.
Oh,
A short-tempered person is one who's addicted to anger. You know, so acknowledge, all right, and accept, all right, and aware.
So you got 3 A's again.
3 A's.
Acknowledge, accept, and be aware.
Be aware of your inner world, all right, and then of course take control of over yourself. So to summarize, the anger is not caused by the other person. Anger is caused by your own desire and expectation, which is interrupted, which is obstructed. All right. So it is not the other person causing anger. To be angry is your choice. It's a choice that you make. It's nothing to do with the other person.
Well, the most important thing I've taken from today, I mean, anger is there. Everybody's going to have it. Like you said, it's a tool. I would say start your day correctly. Try to start as early as possible. The earliest that you can manage is whatever. I mean, if somebody is doing a night shift and coming home at 2 o'clock, you're not expecting that person to get up at 4 o'clock. No, ideally, you get up at 4.
Ideally, of course.
But
I mean,
it's not an ideal situation we live in.
Correct. So. If it's a person doing the night shift, of course, after they have about 6 to 7 hours of sleep, and then next for the first 2 hours become their most valuable time.
So set your intentions correctly early first thing in the morning, and your day will go well.
You program it.
Program it with that. Thank you very much, Mr. Angajan, for joining me again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure being here with you, Hamsha.
Thank you. And from your host, Hamsha Naidu, be my guest. Join me again from us to you. Bye-bye till we meet again.